Oh, it's that time again.
This is a homage beat.
It's difficult to describe Derrick Rose to someone under the age of 20 years old or so. I imagine kids that young look back at Derrick Rose's career as an outsider and don't really comprehend why he's such a massive fan favorite among the millennial generation specifically. Yes, his career numbers were good, but why do we love him so much? Why is it that virtually everyone my age has stories of how they used to dominate in 2K with Derrick Rose? By the way, I was playing 2K back then, half of y'all are liars. But anyway, in a lot of ways, I think it's fair to say that Derrick Rose is one of the least polarizing players of his era. It seems like he was almost universally beloved by a generation of hoops fans. Today I want to look back at his career and celebrate 5 specific games and performances that I personally consider to be his most iconic. I want this to be a fun and interactive experience, so if you guys agree or disagree with my list, please let me know in the comments section below. Now before I get into my top 5, I want to give an honorable mention to a regular season game that the Bulls played against the Miami Heat on March 6, 2011. This took place during what would become Derrick Rose's MVP season. This was a statement game against the super team Heatles' big three of LeBron, Dwyane Wade, and Chris Bosh. At this point in the season, the cat was kind of already out of the bag in terms of people knowing how good this Bulls team was, and everyone more or less expected these two teams to eventually clash in the playoffs. So this was really a big regular season game for the Bulls. The soon-to-be MVP showed why he was the MVP in this game. During this game, Rose basically lit the Heat defense up with really tough contested mid-range shots that would have made modern analytics guys cringe. He also looked like an unstoppable force getting to the rim and finishing tough baskets. Simply put, he looked like a superstar in this game. Derrick Rose ended up putting up 27 points and 5 assists in a 1-point victory over the title favorites. He did that on an efficient 52% from the floor. That game didn't quite make the list for me, but I remember it pretty fondly, so I just wanted to give it runner-up status at least. Okay, so now let's jump into my top 5. The 2010-2011 season was one of the most exciting seasons of my lifetime. Among a myriad of reasons for that season being so exciting was none other than Derrick Rose. At only 22 years old, D-Rose would become the youngest MVP in NBA history. Several of his iconic performances on this list took place during the season, which I think is fair to say was easily the best of his career. The game we're going to focus on now took place on April 16, 2011. It was the Bulls' first round playoff opener against a future star in Paul George, a guy that we thought was going to be a future Ben Wallace type player in Roy Hibbert, and a future Jehovah's Witness in Darren Collison. Rose's defense really stood out in this game. He was a pest on that end of the floor all game long, getting deflections, a steal, and 3 highlight reel-worthy blocks. On the offensive end, he showed his skill as a playmaker, notching some really pretty dimes to his teammates. But it was his scoring that really shined through the most. His athleticism was on full display as he was able to finish circus shot after circus shot. There was nothing that Collison, George, or any other Pacer defender could seem to do to contain him, except for fouling him. And that's exactly what the Pacers had to resort to. They sent Rose to the line 21 times in this game, and Derrick was able to knock down 19 of those free throws for a total of 90%. When it was all said and done, Rose finished the game with 39 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal. The Bulls won by 5 and would go on to win the series 4-1. It was Game 3 of the Chicago Bulls versus the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Rose had been through multiple significant injuries in his career by this point, and serious questions about his durability were starting to pile up. But for one night in May of 2018, everyone forgot all of that. Now I just want to point out that this was a really odd period in Bulls history that I had kind of forgotten about. Their starting 5 featured Jimmy Butler, who was the new kid on the block for the Bulls and looked like he was going to be the future cornerstone for the Bulls franchise. Spoiler alert, he would not be. It also featured Pau Gasol, who still looks weird to me when he's not in a Lakers jersey. He still had a lot in the tank that season though, in which he had career high games in scoring and blocks. It also featured Aaron Brooks, who was an inexplicable god in multiple 2K games for some reason, but was more of a reliable backup in real life. If you guys remember how wet Aaron Brooks' jumper was in 2K back in the day, let me know in the comments section because I know I'm not alone in this one. Anyway, we went off on kind of a tangent there, but the Bulls and Cavs were caught up in a highly competitive close game when Pau Gasol went down with an injury. This was a huge blow for the Bulls and somebody needed to step up. And so, Derrick rose to the occasion. See what I did there? The Bulls found themselves in a tied game situation with only 3 seconds left on the shot clock, with the ball out of bounds on the sidelines. And that's when Rose caught the inbounds pass, took a few dribbles to his right, and reminded everybody exactly who he was. Rose hit what might go down as the single defining shot of his career, a leaning three-point bank shot over the outstretched hand of Tristan Thompson. It was a feel-good moment for a player that the whole basketball world was rooting for. Rose didn't shoot a particularly high percentage that game, but he showed up when it truly mattered. He ended the game with 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. If this video were about Derrick's best games ever as opposed to most iconic, this game might be number 1 or at least number 2. This was another game during Rose's 2011 MVP campaign. The word I'd use to describe his performance in this game is untouchable. The Atlanta defense threw everything they could at him, but D Rose was able to score in every way imaginable. Swooping layups through multiple defenders, floaters that damn near scraped the arena ceiling, off-dribble contested mid-range shots, free throws, and he even knocked down 4 3-pointers, which was an area that was kind of considered a relative weakness at this point in his career. In the third quarter, he even hit a sweeping skyhook that seemed like a glitch in the Matrix. Rose made good use out of his big men Joakhim Noah and Carlos Boozer in this one, using them for single and double screen sets. If you go back and watch this game, you'll see how often Rose was able to use those plays and just basic pick and rolls to get a favorable switch against one of the Hawks' big men. I swear he scored on Al Horford and Josh Smith every single time they switched on him. Derrick's performance in this game was the perfect blend of skill, athleticism, and IQ. He was so electric that by the end of the game, the hostile Atlanta crowd was giving him MVP chants. And might I remind you that this was a friggin' playoff game. Insane. When it was all said and done, Rose finished with a career playoff high of 44 points on an absurd 59% from the field, and the Bulls would walk away with the win. Alright guys, so we got 2 more, but before we get into it, if you guys are enjoying the video so far, please consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss another video like this one. Hit the like button to help support the channel so that I can make more content like this, and comment below to let me know what you guys thought about the video and what topics I should cover next. Thanks guys. Yeah, be honest, you knew this one was going to show up on this list. So this is the only game on this list where Derrick Rose was not in a Chicago Bulls uniform, and because this happened so recently, you've probably seen the highlights. Man, what a feel-good story this was. This was only a season removed from Rose considering retirement after a short stint with LeBron's Cavaliers went south. I think a lot of us thought that Rose would just play out the rest of his career as a fringe rotation player after that, but then the Rose-assance happened. In a matchup against the Utah Jazz on October 31st, 2018, happy Halloween, Derrick Rose turned back the clock and dropped a career-high 50 points on 61% shooting. Watching this game, you could tell he had lost a lot of his athleticism due to both age and multiple injuries, but on display here was his keen sense of timing. He knew exactly when to accelerate and decelerate on his drives. Even more impressive was the fact that he seemed to be attacking Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert on every single play. To cap it all off, Derrick Rose ended the game on a game-saving play where he blocked a 3-pointer in the corner that potentially could have sent the game to overtime. The buzzer sounded, his teammates tackled him to the ground, and tears streamed down his eyes. And the rest of ours, if we're all being honest. Mine specifically. Have you ever heard the phrase, "act like you've been here before"? Because that perfectly encapsulates how Derrick Rose looked in his first playoff game ever against the Boston Celtics in 2009. It's a real rarity that we see a player that's this young and this fearless in their first big moment. It was a freezing cold day in front of a hostile Boston crowd, and the ESPN commentators noted that the arena itself was freezing before the game started. But that didn't stop Rose from heating up. The rookie Derrick Rose didn't make the mistake of starting his first playoff game going 90 miles per hour like a lot of young stars attempt to do. He started the game off getting his teammates involved, throwing a lob to Joakhim Noah in transition, and finding Ben Gordon coming off a screen. You guys remember Ben Gordon? He was British. That has nothing to do with anything, but it's just one of my favorite NBA fun facts. As the game continued, Derrick seemed to know exactly when to attack and when to defer. His poise was probably the most impressive thing about his performance in this game. He continued to attack the rim again and again, getting to the foul line 12 times and making all 12 of them. Rose tied Kareem's record for points scored by a rookie in a playoff debut with 36 on 63% shooting. And what makes it even more impressive is that he did this against the Boston Celtics defense, which is one of the greatest defenses we've ever witnessed. We may never see a rookie performance like this in the playoffs again in our lifetimes. Now that Rose has moved on to a new phase of his career, looking back at this game is a great reminder of not only what Rose could have been had it not been for all the injuries, but what he actually was during the short time period that we were privileged enough to see a healthy version of him. That's why this is number 1 on my list of the most iconic Derrick Rose performances. But now it's time to find out what you guys think. What were your favorite Derrick Rose games? Let me know in the comments section below, and also again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks so much for watching Kingslayer Hoops, and until next time, happy gaming, y'all.